So let's talk about EDL files. So as you probably noticed from this week's lessons, classifiers are not perfect, right? We're often going to get a classification that's slightly off, or because we're only using two labels, it's not going to always capture everything we want it to, or not. Or it's going to capture too much is usually what happens. So in this case, running this directly through FFmpeg is going to generate some kind of crappy outputs. So one of the things we can use is EDL. Sean, thank you so much for putting together the code for this. EDL is a file format that you can open in Premiere and Resolve and other video editors, and it will basically import your clips and create a timeline for you. So we can actually output our classifier information directly from that and then do minor edits in our editing program. So you can kind of think about this as like the classifier gets 80% of the way there, but then we want to do that final polish. And an EDL file is better because you're not making another file version that's compressed a little bit. It's just sort of a better production workflow. So the way this works in this notebook or in any of the classifier notebooks where you see the EDL file output is you'll still want to run your selection settings. So in this case up here, we've got a create video sequence from labels. So I'm grabbing from my the Scully model I have, and I want to grab all Scully labels with a minimum confidence of 0.5. Remember, that's pretty much like the bare minimum. This means it's going to capture everything that's labeled Scully, and if we run this, you'll see we get 245 different clips. I know for a fact that that's going to include pictures of women and other things that we don't actually want because they won't actually be Scully. So we can skip this cell, which is going to generate a output video from it, and then go down to the EDL file output. And for this, what it's going to do is it's going to move all of the clips that we've selected into a folder, and then it's going to create this EDL file. And that way we can download that one package and open that up in Resolve. So for this, we can go ahead and create a folder we want to output this as. So let's go to let's go into Algo Film here, and let's go to Output. So let's copy this path and let's make a folder called I keep saying Mulder, Scully, and then EDL. The other thing we need to do is, because of how these editing projects work, is they need a consistent frame rate. One of the challenges is that depending on what we're grabbing, we might be grabbing stuff with multiple frame rates, and that can be kind of an issue. In this case, these clips are all from the same piece, and they all have the same frame rate, so it's 23.98. The way I found that is if you just type selection here and then run it, this will spit out your entire JSON folder, and then you can go in here and just see that this particular file has 23.98 as a frame rate. So that's the easiest way to grab that and delete that. Now we can run this cell. And what this will do is it will create a folder. If we refresh here, it'll create a folder called Mulder Scully -EDL, which is what we wanted here. And then if we open this, it will move in all of our clips. And lastly, it's going to produce this EDL file. So we'll let that finish, and then we'll run the last cell, which will convert that to a zip file for us. So while this zips up and while we wait to download it, let's go ahead and open up Resolve. And while that opens, let me open up Drive, because I want to download that zip file. There is our file, so we'll go ahead and download this. And Resolve is now open, so we're going to go ahead and just make a new project. Let's just call it EDL test. Of course, I already had that, so let's call it EDL test 2. Great naming conventions here, Derek. All right, so now as that file downloads, we've got it open here. Let's just double click on it to open it up. And then this will kind of create a very annoying folder structure, but all of our files are inside of this. So what we can do is we can just copy or grab all of the files and we can drag them into Resolve, into our media pool. And it's going to say, do you want to change the frame rate to match all of the clips? And we're going to say yes, change. Now all of these are in here. So now what we can do is we can go to File, Import, and then we've got Timeline or Preconformed EDL. So I think what Sean said he did, and this worked for me too, was Timeline. And then this pulls up our file here. So let's go back to Downloads. Go to Content, Drive, My Drive, Film, Output. And then here is our EDL file. So you can go ahead and hit Open. And then there's a bunch of settings here. I think we can mostly leave this as is, and we can just hit OK. And now we have all of our clips imported here. And you can see, this first clip here is not Scully. So if we just click on this clip down here and we hit delete, it's now removed. And likewise, this is not Scully. This is not Scully. That's not Scully. We can see that this actually kind of brings in way too many clips. Now this is where confidence score would have helped us a little bit. Maybe if our classifier was set up correctly, we would have gotten a better confidence score. As we saw, that wasn't always perfect for Scully either. So we can just go in and start to delete stuff. And I think now we're finally getting the correct clips. And then you can go in and just edit the rest of this, right? So, from here, we could go in and edit this out. And we could begin to make a better edit. So again, the nice thing about this is that the classifier gets us, maybe 80% of the way there, maybe 75% of the way there in this case. And then using the EDL file, we can quickly import all of our pieces. And now we have way less clips to deal with. And it's just a matter of going through, say, 250 clips rather than, say, 800 clips. And this is kind of just a nice way to create a slightly more production-ready workflow. So again, thank you, Sean, for making that tool really, really helpful. It's kind of cool to see this working in action the way we would expect it to. And for those of you who like editing in Premiere Resolve, this is a much simpler way to get to a much more accurate sort of setting. So that's EDL files. Again, I'll probably try to keep moving this forward as we add in new features. So this will always be an option in each notebook that we use going forward. All right, so that's it for this week. I'll see everyone next week.